Hi, everyone. How are you? Welcome to Refresh. Boy, 2 weeks in a row. Used to be, this is our 50th show. I just want to say our 50th. And I'm always so happy to get together with everyone, to value this time, time to connect, to be inspired, to learn something. And, we ultimately feel a bit better about this time we spent together. And that's what Generation W is all about. I have to tell you, I'm still thinking about the conversation we had last week with the leader of the great unknown. That's what we have now come to refer Leah Jewell. And Leah is a jewel. She's an employability and work expert. And she's a tremendous resource as every day we try to navigate what's in front of us, what we think is in front of us, and the ongoing uncomfortability of what we just don't know. And I don't know if you feel it, but there is this seismic shift that is happening all around us. And conversations like we have with Leah and so many of our guests through these 50 conversations. But when I think about what Leah said last week in particular, she shared that it is important to unlearn as it is to learn. Think about it. In times of change, we learn to do something some way, but the world around us isn't that same way. And this idea of unlearning continues to resonate, certainly with me, and it gets me thinking all the time. And in a helpful way, right? This is the way the world I thought it was. Here's the way the world is moving. So I have to think about how I am learning about the new world, which is requiring me to unlearn. And I guess that's what inspired me to pick up Adam Grant's new book. I think you guys know him. He's from Penn. He did a book with Cheryl. What was Cheryl? My friend Melissa's here. She said Sheryl Crow. That's kind of funny. And it's not surprising, one of the early comments that I underlined, he wrote, "The accelerating pace of change means that we need to question our beliefs more readily than before." And that's so much more easily written than done. He writes about rethinking and rethinking. And I think that's akin to learning and unlearning. And it's related to being comfortable and uncomfortable. So speaking of uncomfortable, quick story. It was just an ordinary evening. I was, the world was in a swirl as it usually is, but I felt kind of safe and I was with some friends and we're getting ready to go out to dinner. And my phone lit up. And we all know what happens when our phones light up. We pick it up, we're all programmed. And there's this text and it caused me to gasp, literally. I haven't heard from a person in a while. And it said, "Donna, my parents are in Afghanistan." By the way, I couldn't find the original text, so this is what I recall. "I don't know if we can get them out. If the Taliban would find them, they would be killed." And then there was a plea for help. "Can you help?" And then her last comment was, "I don't know what I would do if something would ever happen to them." And honestly, tears filled my eyes. My reaction, my friends were like, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And I'm like, I have a friend and her family's in danger. And the fact that this was the major news story of the week deepened getting this message, right? As images of Afghan families gathering en masse at the airport in Kabul, trying to get out, the confusion, the chaos, and all of us thinking, how can this be happening? Good people who have been good to us, right? How could we not help them get out? How could we put them in danger? And yet it was, and still is. And so the question is, how could I help? And I'm grateful, and I'm grateful to Niloofar that she reached out to me. But the question is, how can I help? What could any of us do? And the other thing I really thought about, it was so easy to put ourselves in Niloofar's place. Think about it. Your parents are in danger. You are feeling helpless. And this is just the latest chapter in a family story of courage, strength, belief in education and opportunity, the reality of taking risks to make all of that happen. And so I ask, what made them rethink or unlearn the teachings of a culture that they grew up in, generation after generation? Somewhere along the line, they made a conscious decision to walk down a different path. The Rahmanis, a middle-class family from Kabul in Afghanistan, know this only too well. So today, we are privileged and excited to reconnect. And maybe for some of you, you've never met her before. And she's so remarkable. Her name is Niloofar Rahmani. She's the first female pilot in the Afghan Air Force. Her path to take flight was met with death threats, her family taking refuge in another country, harassment, abuse, and ultimately her inability to ever return to her country. And yet, she has taken flight. She's an inspiration, a role model, and a friend who has a lot to share and teach us all about learning and rethinking, and also one, candidly, who needs our help today. She took to the Generation W stage in 2018 with some impassioned remarks.
I was born into an incredible parents. They given me equal opportunities, the same as my brother. For most people, being equal is normal. But from where I came, girls should struggle to be allowed to go to school. And once they're age of 13 and 14, they're considered to be married and have babies, while boys are enjoying their childhoods. I believe being allowed to go to school and have freedom of speech is every human's right. I grew up in a middle-class family, but I always wanted to do something for the girls and women in my country. And I also wanted to complete my father's dream. He always wanted to be a pilot because he came from a poor family and no power, he never could achieve his dream. The only way I could change my future journey to set a goal for myself and say I will be the best. Because life keeps going and moving and doesn't wait for anyone.
Wow. Wow. Right? Unbelievable. Welcome everybody to today's Refresh. Hi, Niloofar. Here we are.
Hi, thank you for the nice introduction, and hello everyone. Thank you for joining us.
There's so many things that I know people have questions, and everybody put your questions in the chat on Facebook. Katie will be there. She's helping. I don't even know where she start, but in that little remarks, you said something that even in America, we question. You say most people live in a place where equal is normal. I guess what is normal, which is a hot word today, everybody questions. But tell us a little bit about your growing up in your country before you decided to become a pilot.
Well, I grew up during the civil war in Afghanistan when the Taliban took over the entire country. As we all witness that Talibans are, I don't even call them a good humans. They are not humans. They're just evils that they just don't know what peace is. They don't know what humanity is. And they're always, their violence is against a woman. And unfortunately, to be a woman and born on that kind of government, of course, it's so much pain for each Afghan woman to be on that society. And I was one of them as well, that I was born on such kind of government, that I always been told I shouldn't, I'm not allowed, what I can do, what I cannot do, took away the right of education from me, took away my freedom, took away that anything I am allowed to do for my life. And anything that they would come up with as a woman, you had to follow. Otherwise, they would just kill that person, that woman. And, just being a child, a little girl, growing up on such kind of, violence. The first time I think in my life as a child, I always wish I wasn't a woman. And it still hurts me till nowadays that I have thought about that, because I would see my brother, I would see other men in the country that they are free to do anything. And as a woman, seeing myself that I cannot do anything, I have no voice, it deeply hurted me. And I think the reason that who I am and what I have done for my future, for some girls in Afghanistan, I think it all led to that condition in Afghanistan.
So when did you start to see conditions change? Because I assume growing up, no one thought that it would be any different ever, right?
Well, whoever studied the story of Afghanistan used to be a free country. Women had the whole right, like in 60s, Afghanistan, the woman would dress exactly like Western women. They would attend colleges. They would be all educated. They had a voice. They would do anything they wanted to do. But unfortunately, after 60s, the Afghanistan just fallen under, the civil war to the hand of the Taliban, those evils that they're just extremists. And unfortunately, the history of Afghanistan, the life under Taliban government, it changed so many, futures and life for those women in the country. And, after 2001, when the US came to Afghanistan and they, fought against the Taliban, it really brought change, the future of Afghan women, and I am one of them. US invasion in Afghanistan wasn't like any others, the Russian or the British. It was completely different in Afghanistan. It brought so much changes, especially for the women in the country. And it allowed me to even join the military, that it never was possible.
So what made you decide, by the way, hearing this from you is so incredibly powerful, right? We all know messages are filtered in so many different ways. And to hear from your perspective that our country has come in and really made such good and positive change, right? You don't really hear that, right? You don't hear how it comes down to a family like yours, how that impacts you. When did you decide you wanted to go in the military? When did you say, oh my goodness, I have a chance to do something here?
It was in 2010, actually, that, it was, of course, years after the US came to Afghanistan. Of course, they wanted the woman to be part of any government, any social, like Congress, military. And one day I just saw advertisement in the TV that they want to enlist and recruit women in the military, any part, Air Force, Army, and they can even, if they will be qualified, they can join and be a pilot in the Air Force. And when I heard that news, of course, that was the best thing in my life that changed my future. And, for the parents, my mom was really scared because she knew Afghanistan is a still dangerous place for a woman, especially for a woman that cannot be you can be just a teacher or a doctor just for a woman. No one is ready to see a woman in the uniform. She was really scared for, the outcome risk. But I'm so thankful that my father, he actually understood that how important it is as a, girl growing up and having a voice after years, that what I supposed to do for my future, and this will build my future. And he never said no to it. And that was my lucky chance, and that door opened for me. And I was so glad that I had support of my family, that they let me go and join the Air Force.
Well, now you have 2 sisters and a brother.
I have 3 sisters and 1 brother.
3 sisters. Wait, so where's your 3rd sister?
Unfortunately, because of the situation in Afghanistan, they are right now in Turkey. So everybody is just all over the place. Unfortunately.
And where's your brother?
My brother is there as well.
He's in Turkey. So everybody's out of the country.
Yes, thankfully.
Wow. Okay, so the door opens. You're excited about becoming a pilot. Your father is very, very supportive. Your mother is scared. How did that all take place? Did the Afghan Air Force say, yeah, come on, Niloofar, sure, we want you. We'll make it easy for you?
Unfortunately, this was not the Afghan government choice. That's why it has been so difficult journey for me along the way. All of them just wanted to fail me, and especially hearing from your own people, the government and the generals that tell me that the US is here, that you are here, otherwise you would not be here for 2 seconds. It's very heartbreaking. As an Afghan woman, I needed their support. I needed them to stand by me, support me for my choice and my decision for changing the country and, a culture that had been so dark for a woman. And that was not the case. Since I joined the academy, it has been so difficult that, even hearing from them to tell me it's shame for a woman to wear the uniform. And I had to stand against that is it shame for you that you wear the uniform? Is it something very shameful that you're not proud to have it on? So what is the difference if a woman have that uniform on? And, sometimes you can't just talk to them and tell them, what is right, what's wrong. You have to just prove yourself by working hard and proving them wrong and yourself right by being the best and doing good things.
So that must be, I think it's challenging for all of us, right? Even we live in a free world, but as women, we feel every day kind of the pressures of a culture that could be more supportive of us. And yet you're living and working in a violent situation. And every day they're telling you, we do not want you there. They're not like making insinuating comment. They're telling you. Where does that courage come from to face that every day?
I think since a child growing up on the situation that I would just see death, I would see violence. I have seen my closest friend to be taken away from her house and kill her father because the Taliban just took her from her home, and see how bad a woman in Afghanistan has it. Just all of this, one day it really gave me the courage of, no matter what the outcome is going to be, I have to fight. I have to do something. I have to at least, be strong enough that as much as every day I've been told which kind of person I am, how bad a person I am, why am I in the military, why am I wearing the uniform, this is not my place, everybody do not want me there. It's just because of what I have been through as a child and growing up. It made me stronger. Their word that to tell me what am I supposed to do, what I should not choose for myself, and I am so limited for what I want in life. I think those all made me so strong that it would be so easy for me, even if every day people tell me I'm gonna die, I'm gonna kill other people by crashing the airplane, and I'm a woman. It just did not affect me. I did not let it to affect me.
Wow. Wow. And yet they did some really, let's talk a little bit about how they try to keep you out. You want to tell a little bit about the story about their questioning of your health?
Absolutely. After becoming an officer, the next journey for me was to go.
Hold on, time out. You became an officer?
Yes. I became.
Okay. How did you become the officer? How did that all work out?
So when I enlisted it, when I went to join the military, the first step is you have to have a rank. You have to go through training, officer training. You have to go through the whole basic training. And after I graduated from that training, I had my rank. I was a first lieutenant, and then I chosen to be a pilot. And for being a pilot, you have to pass some medical, you have to pass a medical, like you're qualified or not, because the health is so important for being a pilot. And unfortunately, no woman along all those men that they came to be qualified for pilot and start their pilot training were accepted. The chief doctor, that his signature would prove everything, he disqualified so many women that one has a, colorblind, another one is too short. And unfortunately, I was among them too. He told me I have a heart problem and this is something that no one can do anything, and I should just leave and forget about being a pilot. And, that's the worst thing for someone that dreamed to do something and worked so hard, especially being a woman, and hear all those words that this is not your place. Of course, his signature, his word would stop me. He would stop me forever for not being a pilot. But I knew I'm fine. I'm okay. So I had to go through some other doctors, civilian doctors, and everybody said, you're fine. It's all good. It's like a baby, no problem. And then I had an American mentor. He was a lieutenant colonel, and I had an opportunity to discuss with him that, I know what the problem is. They just do not want us here as a woman. He thinks if he disqualify me, I'm out of the door, so I would not be here. And I'm so glad that I had him there, that he took me to one of the American hospitals and the base. and they wanted to make sure that I'm really healthy. There's no problem. And after they did the exams and hard exams, it exactly showed everything is fine as a civilian doctor outside the base. And we had a proof that we went to the doctor, and he had no word to say because we proved him wrong. That just because of my gender, he just found an excuse to get rid of me and not have me there. But I'm so thankful that I was able to prove them wrong and fight it, along the way to go through what I want.
Well, we have some photographs that you shared, and I think it would be great. Before we look, I want to say, Dr. Orender Johnson, I think you met Dr. Johnson when you were here for Generation W. Welcome, Orender. How are you? Sharon Robinson, Lisa Bradford, Debbie Banks is with us. And I just want to extend a very warm welcome back to Joy Kurtz, a regular member of our community. Our arms are around you with tremendous love. We're so glad you can join us here today. And Marianne Jacoby on Facebook says, hey, everybody, I've been looking forward to this all week. So obviously, Marianne, I'm sure you have some questions. Everybody, if you have some questions, please do let us know. In the meantime, I'm really eager to share these beautiful photographs because they're really amazing. And why don't you tell us a little bit about them? Sherry will stop on them. Well, obviously, this is you in the cockpit.
Yes, so this is me in the cockpit. It's Kabul. It's the capital of Afghanistan, of course. And these are the C-130s airplane that we got from the US. And this is the airplane I was trained on. And this picture goes back to 2012. It's me with my classmates in pilot training. And definitely a rough time, but so this is back in 2012.
So friendly, but an innocent here,
Thank you.
But what a photograph! Now, what happened with you and the Blue Angels? This is amazing.
This is a picture from 2015 when I won the International Woman of Courage Award, and I was able to meet First Lady Michelle Obama. And I got an opportunity to fly with Blue Angels, which was an amazing time of, of course, I can say my life, because I'm just so impressed with speed. And, unfortunately, we didn't have a fighter jets in Afghanistan. That's why I chosen to fly a heavy airplane. And I wish we had, but, it's never late to dream. And I'm still hoping one day I'll be able to fly that jet one day, hopefully.
Oh, so you didn't fly it this day, huh? You weren't in charge of the Blue Angels? Just kidding. All the time. That's amazing. And tell us about this photograph.
This is one of the class graduation, and the officer she's from British Royal Air Force, and she was one of my closest friend, and she was the one actually, because I didn't have other women with me during the training, and I was just one woman with all those men classmates. And of course, they were always, so negative against me. And sometimes you need someone to understand you. And she was the one I was able to talk to. And when I had a pain, when I had, when I was upset about something, she was the one actually helping me get through it, to be able to just talk to her, open up. And others are my classmates, and that's a lieutenant colonel. He was in charge of the Celtic, which was the very big English language, I can say, like courses in Afghanistan, that you had to go through that course to be able to pass that certain English score to be able to start your pilot training, because English was the number one qualification for us as English not being our first language. And he was in charge of that.
Wow. So was that picture in Afghanistan, or was that when you came to training in the States? I guess it must be Afghanistan, yes?
Yes, those are pictures from Afghanistan, and that's Shindon Air Force Base. That's where all the Afghan pilots got trained and went through language classes.
Is that when you first learned how to speak English?
Yes. So, I actually started learning English when I decided to be a pilot, because For us as an Afghan, English is not our first language. And of course, aviation, the general language for that is English. And for us to be even able to join the pilot training, we had to learn English, and it should be in a certain scores. Like it shouldn't be low; it should be like in a very advanced level to be able to go through all those classes. Our classes were all in English. Our instructors were all Americans. And, it was difficult to have a limited time, 6 months, to go through the whole language process and be able to learn, understand, read, write. And, as I mentioned, if you have a passion for something, you would definitely do it. It's definitely not impossible. And that was for me, that I made it happen.
Okay, so I'm writing that down. Niloofar, if you have a passion for something, you will definitely do it. I think we have to just take a moment to recognize that you did not even speak our language. And it's not like this is like one of the 5 romance languages. What language is your mother tongue?
Dari.
Okay, that and English is not exactly like they're related
At all.
And so now you had to learn a whole other language to be able to just get in a plane or just be able to be accepted as a pilot, right?
Absolutely, because this is like an international aviation language. Anybody that wants to be a pilot, you have to know English to be able, to even start your basic training, like for pilot training. And it's very understandable.
Wow. That's just amazing. Now let's go back. While you're doing all this training, your family is under attack.
Unfortunately, in Afghanistan, culture and people, even though they are very educated, sometimes when it comes to a woman, they ignore everything. They ignore how good a person can be. They ignore what the reality is. In aviation, when you are on a certain level that you can fly by yourself, you can fly solo. And in Air Force, I'm sure it's in the US Air Force as well, once you successfully complete your solo flight, you get thrown in a pool of water. And that was the case for me. And there was 2 American females that they had to do that for me, just because, in our culture, men cannot touch you as a woman. It has to be woman and all that. So unfortunately, there has been lots of people that my presence there was bothering them. They took a picture of me, posted on the social media, and I get a call from my brother that he says, people are thinking you are not a Muslim anymore. Americans are baptizing her. She needs to be killed. She needs to be honor killed, her family. And that was the case for me. And for me, just hearing that from my family, it just ruined my entire time, and so upset to see how people took advantage of that situation to give me that bad name and make the society to go against me. And of course, we all know bad people, extremists like the Taliban, they don't have any mercy when it comes to a woman. And of course, that was the big win for them, to have something against me, to threaten me, my family, and then their law and the culture that if somebody do something bad to bring shame for the, culture and religion, it's supposed to be honor killed. And that was the case for me, that they said, no matter if we cannot even reach to her, if we hurt any member of her family, including a child, it's a pride for us. And since then, my life, my family life, never been in peace. And we went to hiding, and we lived like a refugee in our own country.
So how did that work? What happened then? How did you get even from where you were living to the base every day?
So as I mentioned, my only security was my parents, my brother, my father. And, I didn't have any type of other security, even though the government was able to protect at least the one female that they know. If you're a man in Afghanistan in uniform, your life is in danger if you get captured. If you're a woman, just forget about it. They're going to torture you as bad as they could before they kill you. But they just say, no, we didn't force you to be here. And, we cannot help you. And of course, by my own family being involved with me every day, taking me to work, bringing me back. And, it was just so at the level that they all knew how my father looks. They knew how my brother, my family looks. And I had to hide myself. I had to wear the covering face. So when we go through the city, people cannot recognize me. So it was terrible for a female that I wanted to be a symbol of freedom for so many girls in Afghanistan. I had to hide my face in the society just to not be recognized and not get my parents, my brother killed. And when coming back to base, I had to change to my uniform and be that free person that I wanted to be. And unfortunately, it didn't last long. And I had people waiting for me in the gates. Unfortunately, we had our own extended family showing up in our home with guns, threatening us, and we had to just leave. Sometimes, who does this? Sometimes 2 times in a month, we had to leave because Kabul is a very small place. It's very small. Maybe it's smaller than a city in US. And going from one side of it to other side, it only takes 2 hours. And it was so hard to hide in such a small city. And we were just, according to, the threat level, the security, we just had to leave. Everybody had a bag ready. What's going to happen? We just had to leave the house overnight, in the morning, middle of the night. And it was a point that I couldn't even go do my mission, in more than 30 days. At the point that, a time when my brother got shot, and it just made it so miserable for all of us.
I am just listening to you and I can feel all of this anxiety in my body, right? And you are living with this every single day. Let me first say, hello, everybody. Welcome to Refresh. We're here with this special guest today, Niloofar Rahmani. She's the first, only Afghan pilot. She came to the U.S. for pilot training. She asked for asylum, and happily it was granted several years ago. But we're going to catch up further because to find out what you're doing now and how you're doing on your pilot's journey. But before we do that, I'm just going to ask if anybody has any questions. You just want to sit back and listen to this unbelievable story. What made you hang in? It would have been so much easier for all of you, including your parents, to say, enough. We love you. We know you're good enough. You've got your rank. You know how to fly, but this is too dangerous.
I think I was one of the luckiest person, a girl in Afghanistan, that, there is a point that everyone in life, after all those difficulties and threats and putting the entire family in risk, at the point someone is going to tell you it's time to stop. We are done. You have to quit. But I never heard that word from any member of my family. And that's what it gave me more courage, that I was at the point that I said I have to stop after what happened to my brother, what happened to my sister, that she got abandoned to see her own child, and they divorced her basically just because she was my sister. I was a bad person. I was in the military and I was going against the religion, culture, and everything happened in our life. I really felt that I blamed myself for all of that. And I had the right to do so because I felt like I ruined all of their rights, their life, just because I wanted to make something, change something in the country for the girls and the women and make my dad's dream come true myself. And I was at the point that I said I want to quit. And then, I had the father that tells me that if you do quit, people will not say we made her quit. We made her life miserable to quit. She was a woman and she couldn't handle it. That's why she quit. And that word and that promise that I'd given to him, that made me to not quit and fight to the last level that I can. And, there is always a point in life that nothing is important than a family. And if you knew that they're going to be in danger, one day they will get killed, of course, I don't think just me, every human would give up on their dreams, on their career to just save their family. And I think I had to do that at some point as well.
Okay, I think all of us are holding our hearts and our breath as we hear you speak. I am so glad Joy is with us because she offers a sentiment I think we all feel, which is what a brave and amazing young woman. And she makes us all realize just how lucky we are in this country, despite all the difficulties. It is so easy for us to get caught up in what's not right. And you remind us about how privileged and how much we truly do have here. And I know you're going to be able to amplify that a little bit more. Tell us how you got to the United States.
It was 2014, actually, 15, my apology. And I was in a hiding with my family. So basically, when you're a pilot, you have to do some, 30 days recency, and you have to fly. Otherwise, you have to go through the whole process to get recurrent again. And I was at the point that I couldn't even leave my house. And everything was so difficult that, I was lucky to have the support of Americans, that they would realize that what is happening, like if we don't take an action, either she's going to get killed, she's going to lose her career forever, or something is going to happen to her family. And of course, after receiving the death threats from the Taliban in our home, and it got really at the point that I couldn't even go to my mission and work anymore. And when the U.S. Advisors realized that, and it went through the U.S. Embassy, NATO, and they decided that I had to get away from the country for a while. So these Taliban extremists, they would think that she quit her job. So they would not threaten me or my family anymore. And I got the opportunity to come to the US and go through some more advanced training and fly a different airplane. And unfortunately, in Afghanistan, that I wish that was the case. It wasn't. I was here and I would not hear from my family for days and months. And I would just think, oh, maybe they don't have internet. Maybe they don't have a good signal. And I was just so busy in my training that I wanted to do best. I wanted to be successful, even though I'm training in a more advanced airplane. I have to do it along with my other male classmates, that I shouldn't, be lower than them. I was so focused on that I was unaware of what's happening to my family back home. Unfortunately, my extended family, your own family you cannot hide from them, because they know every little secret about your life. They know where you are. They know everything. And for me, for my family, not only we were dealing with Taliban and people that they just thought I was going against the religion, my own extended family, that they were after my own family because they couldn't reach me. Even though if I would say I quit, I'm not flying anymore, but they still thought we brought, shame, and we went against the religion. My father get killed, anyone get killed, it's a pride for them. And unfortunately, it made it so bad that my family had to flee to Pakistan without me knowing that where they are. And after months and months and past a year, I get to hear from my father finally that they're not in the country. And, it was so painful that when you're so ready that you're going to go and share your achievement with your family, and you're at the point that your own family is not where you're supposed to be back and continue your dreams. And it really broke my heart. And it was difficult for me to even make that choice to stay and quit. And for something that I fought so hard and put our life in risk, they made this happen. The people, the government, all of them, they made me quit. And I don't call that their victory, because I would never quit, and I will always go against them, against what they believe. But it really hurted me for so long to even think what I had to do to just save my family.
And your dad told you that you can't come back, correct?
Correct, because they were basically not in the country. They went way before that I even realized. And for someone that supported you the entire time in my career and told me to never give up, sometimes, I have always thought that I would never hear that word. And then when I think with myself how bad they could have it, that finally, for a person like my father, that his love and his heart goes to his people and his country, the country he grew up. How hard it must have been for him, that even him talking to me, hearing from his voice, I'm his daughter. Like, I understand when he's upset. I understand when he's under so much pressure, to tell me that. And I would never question him, like, why, what happened? Because I knew it's going to hurt him talk about it. I knew it's going to be hard for him to even leave his own country. And now go in a country that, 20 years ago, we had to live on a tent, and now he goes back to that life. It definitely been heartbreaking for me.
So have you talked to your parents lately?
I did. Unfortunately, as we all know, falling off Afghanistan under the Taliban again, it was the most painful thing for me to see every day. And, watching them and watching the whole country falling, as a woman that I grew up during this 20 years of freedom for women and a voice for women, they had anything right, any right that they would wish for. Unfortunately, it's all gone. In a blink of eyes, it's all gone, because the Taliban already abandoning women to go to school. Women are not allowed to work. And the Taliban announced that women that they've been educated during this 20 years, we do not need them, because that's not what they believe. And all of them are now at home. They cannot do anything. They are worried what's their future going to be. And unfortunately, my parents were stuck there as well. And, it has been the difficult times of my life, that even though in the past I've been going through so much hard time, but this time recently, it was so bad that I got to the point that I thought, if I don't stop, I'm just gonna lose my mind. It was really bad time of my life, for sure.
Right. And that's, I think, when the time you reached out and said, is there, I think what really brought the tears to my eye, and you said, if something happened to them, I don't know what I would do. And yet you were able to reach out. Everybody kind of did. And they were able to get on a plane to the UAE on one of those airlifts out of the country. And eventually you got the good news, right?
Yes, and that was the moment actually when the Taliban took over. They were after the people that was in the military. The people were fighting against them. And of course, for me, they all knew, like, I was in their list, in their kill list, since I started my journey. And of course, now they just wanted to destroy all those people that they were in uniform and going against them. And, when I heard that the Taliban went on our door, actually 2 days after my parents left the house, the neighbor called them that, hey, where are you guys? And my dad said, why? Says, these are people coming after you guys here. Where are you? And my dad didn't disclose their location, but thank God, to God that they were not there. When my parents told me that news, I was losing my mind. And that's why I tried to reach out to anybody I could. I tried to get as much as help I can to get them out of Afghanistan. And it was a nightmare to even go to the airport. And they basically had to leave. Like, they were just waking up in the morning and they had their breakfast ready. And this was a time that nobody expected what's going to happen. They had to flee. And basically, they just had to leave the country with just a clothes in their body, without anything. They couldn't take their money out of the bank. They couldn't even put their breakfast table out. It was that terrible time. And I'm so glad that it happened. Otherwise, I honestly, I don't know how would I lived my life if something would have happened to them.
And so they made it to the UAE, and then they're now in America. You've yet to see them, right?
I haven't seen them yet, but I'm really looking forward to, because it's 7 years I haven't seen them, and I'm definitely can't wait for that day.
Right. Do you feel safe here, Niloofar? Do you feel safe in America?
Well, nowadays, as we all know, nowhere in the world is a safe place anymore, unfortunately. But I do feel safe. And I try to, stay strong as always. And I do want to do more for my life, and I don't want to be silent, and I don't let anybody to make me silent, because in a country that I was always told, what am I supposed to do? What's my right? What am I supposed to choose for myself? I made the dream come true. And in the US, I do want to do more. I do want to be a voice for those girls and women that they think they're not part of the society, and they feel they are weak. And because they've been told that they are, their brain is smaller, they don't do well, and they shouldn't be here. And just sometimes, if we physically cannot help someone, we can be a voice for them, just to tell them, like, just being strong and believing in yourself and do more for your life. That means everything, because the life for each human is given once, and we should use that one life the best way we can, because we don't know what the future, when our time is over. And the good thing is that I have learned the two best days of your life is when you're born, and the day you realize, of course, why you're born. And I think for me as a woman, is when I realized why I was born, is maybe the reason behind it. Because so many girls in Afghanistan, they felt they are less than animal. And when I see them, that they would see me in the uniform and see me fly a plane, that most girls and women would think it's a genius thing to do, but I don't think it's a genius thing to do. Everybody can be a pilot. It's easy if you just love that career. And, bringing like joy and voice for them, I think that meant a lot to me, even though I knew maybe one day it will be over for me. But at least if I made a couple of them smile and bring happiness in their heart, I think that meant the world to me, and I would never regret it ever.
So the two best days of your life, you have to remember this, is the day you're born, and then the day you learn why you're born. Now, I just will say this, you're with a community of people who tune into this, who all believe in some level the reasons they were born was to be the best they can be and to help make others be better. And so you wouldn't be surprised by this question is, Marianne wants to know what can we do to still help women currently in Afghanistan? How could we help those who are left behind?
That's a great question, and I do appreciate your feeling and your help. And I think as a woman, we have to stand for each other. It doesn't matter if we are divided by a border and divided by a religion. But first of all, we are all human, and we are all women, and we can be a voice for them. And there's so many women in Afghanistan that they don't have a hope for their future. They do not have a voice, and they don't know what their future is going to bring. And unfortunately, we are at the point that we can only be a voice for them, and have or push any government we can to, at least be a voice for them, help them. Afghan women needs help. Afghan women need a future. Why the Taliban are taking away everything from them. And I know it's difficult, but there is so many organizations that, they are trying to help those women. And I know they need fundings and to get them at least out of the country to a place that they can continue their education, to a place that if they are a musician, they can just do their career. And, unfortunately now we are at the point that the country is under the Taliban right now, that sometimes it really scares me that how it's even possible to help those women. Only by our voice, to just not let this government to be accepted by the world, by the United Nations. Because if that would be accepted by the United Nations, the Taliban government, then no one in the world can save those women and their voices.
Vital Voices, we talked about Vital Voices, who's consistently working on and advocating on behalf of the Afghani women. You can go to the Vital Voices website. There is a petition that you can sign, and also a letter to President Biden to say, let's not forget these women that have been left behind. And then, of course, there's Erin, who wants to know, how could we help women who are new and families that are coming to the U.S. now? The history and story of, America is a nation of immigrants. And yet, when you read our history, every new immigrant group that came in has always been discriminated against. There does truly feel to be open arms for the Afghani people who are joining us, right? Your family will be joining us, as you said. They have shoes on their feet and maybe a jacket, but that's it. We want to help. So what would you like to tell us on how we can help?
Thank you. I do appreciate that again. And, it means a lot for a nation, for the people that they just left a country with the violence, with the fear that we all are witness, that they were ready to throw their child, their newborn, over the fences to American soldiers because they knew their life is going to be saved from this violence. And most of them are now in the US, including my own family. They have to start a new life from zero. And we all know it's not easy for something that you abandon everything, like from your past, and you have none of them with you. It's so important that they all feel welcome, that they are accepted in the US. As we all know, US is a land of freedom and speech and freedom of religion. And we all can prove that this country been built, as you mentioned, from refugees, and just to feel them welcome by helping them, get settled in the US, and, any way we can, even if we cannot help too much, just by providing a pair of clothes or funding for just the beginning, that helps a lot. Because it's kind of like a baby when it starts to learn how to walk. Once they walk, they don't need a help. And that's how they all feel, because they all left with nothing, just the clothes in their body, and that's it. And they definitely need a help to feel they have something to start with, to start their life and start a new life in the US, where they can be safe and, build a new future for themselves.
Niloofar, you are amazing.
Thank you.
You have channeled so much challenge, right, and negativity into an optimistic view of life, right, with the thrive to survive. We haven't even shared with everyone how you're taking flight lessons and getting recertified. And hopefully one day we'll be hearing on our Delta or American flight, this is your pilot, Niloofar Rahmani, and we'll be leaving for Los Angeles soon. That will be nice. I know that's a couple years away, and that you still have to get your green card, but you were granted asylum, and you are pursuing with a passion a life of conviction and contribution. And that is incredible, just incredible. I think we all heard. I mean, if anybody here is interested, Generation W is partnering with our friend, a key member of our community. If anybody wants to help her family as they get to resettle, and we hope that will be soon, just send us an email at info@genwnow.com, and we'll be happy to do that. We're trying to work on some other things. I know there's a lot of people on this call, in this Zoom, who are doing things for families, and they just might have some really good ideas for you. And I know that after hearing your story, they definitely will try to do that.
Thank you so much. As I always mentioned, I have been blessed with good people in my life, including yourself and so many others that, they always been on my side and helped me, even though if it is a good time or difficult times in my life. And I so much appreciate them. And I want everyone to know that means a lot for a person that feels that they have someone along with them. And I think that's what humanity is. And as we know, humanity is such an important thing, especially in our life, that it makes ourselves happy when you're able to help someone when they're going through a hard time, and they've been through difficulties. And that's, I think, why human needs human in life. No human can survive by themselves alone. And again, I really appreciate everyone, yourself, that you have such a kind heart. And I'm so blessed to have a woman, strong woman like you, to be a voice for everyone else as well.
There's tons of us here with you, tons of us here today with you. And so, at the end of all of this, I take notes, and here's just some of the things that are staying, and I'm sure others have taken this as well, which is, if you have a passion for something, you will do it. And for any of us who ever feel stuck in the mud, just remember what this woman has faced. She connected with her passion and just said, I'm just going to do this. Wow. And life, each human is given once, and we all should use it the best that we can. And I have to say, Niloofar, as you know, that is how we define our work at Generation W, right? Meeting, learning, working, this idea of humans needing humans. We've seen this amplified as the pandemic has really shown a light on how much and how important social connection is. And so our work to inspire and connect women and girls in the service of building community, we're celebrating 10 years. Generation WOW, our teen girl leadership and mentorship program, has become more essential than ever. And it's hard to believe, right? In this labor of love, it's been 10 years, projects of passion for sure, ones that have brought you into our life. And it's enabled by a fantastic community of so many who want to be their best and help others do the same. And so we're going to be celebrating beginning on the 10th of October, get it, 10th of October, 10 month, 10th day, 10 years. We'll be celebrating 10 years of Generation W. And Sherry, if you just want to show this little video, because essentially what we believe in is that together we can amplify 10x, if you will, whether it's $10 or 10 times 10 for the next 10 days, but be able to amplify the work that allows us to connect with so many people like yourselves, and for us to be able to hear and support women like Niloofar. And if you don't get it, Cherry, that's fine, because I'm just going to tell everybody what's going to happen next week. No, we're not. We're going to do this. Okay, here we go. Thank you, Katie and Dawn, for all your work. This will roll out on Sunday the 10th. And next week, we're back together again. Joy, are you listening? We're back together again with a really, really wonderful group of women. And the question is, how do we stay healthy in times of stress? Hello, I guess it's all times. We have a great lineup from the Mayo Clinic. As you know, we love our relationship with the Mayo Clinic and just how fabulous they are, how smart they are. And will talk to us about healthy habits, stress management, and more. We'll have women's health specialist, Dr. Sabrina Sani. She'll provide us with tips and insights. And psychologist, Dr. Beth Rush, will be specifically talking about managing stress, mental health, and she'll leave us with really some good mindful moments and reminders. I'll tell you, after this session, I am filled with love and conviction, but I am feeling stressed by just how much someone had to go through to get where they're going, but looking optimistically forward that we can make a difference in helping families actually get better lives, knowing that they now have really moved away from something that's been so horrible. Oh, one more. Dietitian Haley Fritz will speak on nutrition and healthy eating habits. Oh, so it's definitely a cornucopia of great health next week by our Mayo friends. It's always great when you join us. So I just want to say thank you, everybody. It's always great to be with you. Special thanks to the Lehman family who's sitting here with me. I've never had a studio audience before, but I can get used to it. Love to you guys. Take care, everybody.